Hello, and this is the People's View, the new People's View, talking about legislative affairs. Right now we have the Honorable Bill Ohm, the Honorable Don LeBrun, and the Honorable Kevin Aveyard.
With the Honorable Carl Seidel.
Keep reminding you that.
Well, you're a senator, so, you know, I don't get to see you as often. Anyway, Bill, why don't you tell them a little bit about the new format that we have for the review of legislation?
Yeah, thanks, Carl. So there's an important set of hearings coming up every week at the legislature. And I want to talk a little bit about the process because it's very important for the public to become involved with this if you've got a concern either for or against any of the activities that are going on in the legislature. So it starts with the House calendar. This is published every Thursday and lists the meetings that are coming up for testimony in the following week. So the way the process works is that the legislature changes state laws, adds them, deletes them, modifies them. And it's done through the process called submitting a bill. So a bill is a change in state law, proposed change in state law. Now under the rules of the House and the Senate, every bill must have a public hearing, and that's where you folks come in. We'd like you to be there if you've got some issues that you're concerned about. After the public hearing, the committee then debates the bill, takes a vote, and makes a recommendation to the full House or the full Senate as to whether it has merit, it should be passed, or whether it's not ready, it should be deleted or killed. And then it goes to the other body for the same process, and finally it would go to the governor for a signature. So what I'd like to do today is talk about the bills coming up initially in the House, and Kevin can talk about the bills coming up in the Senate that might be useful for the folks to learn about. And there's a big one coming up tomorrow, this will be Tuesday, February 5th at 1 o'clock in Reps Hall. This is the 400-seat auditorium that we use for the biggest controversial bills where there's lots of testimony. And that bill is the House Bill 481 relative to the legalization and regulation of cannabis and making appropriations therefore. This is a public hearing. The legislatures want to hear from you. Their job is to listen carefully, be respectful, and get both points of view from the public. Typically, they alternate people who are for a bill with people who are against the bill. And the suggestion that we all have, I think, is take about 3 minutes, no longer than that, to summarize why you think the bill is needed or not needed and how it might affect you. And then we'd go on to the next testimony, and that's how the process starts.
Well, these bills now are being discussed. If they want to look ahead, too, they can go to the website. And both the Senate and the House bills are listed there, when they are, where they are, and what time they're going to start. So
and that's New Hampshire General Court.
I'm sorry?
New Hampshire General Court.
Yes. And that's the website, so anybody can pick that up. We're going to try to pick some bills that, or some that are being talked about, not only next week, but maybe later on in the session. So some of the things that you brought up, one on marijuana, but you also had one on something else that was that you wanted to talk about, Bill.
Yeah, I got a few interesting ones here. There's a bill that's coming up on Tuesday as well at Municipal and County Government, Room 301, relative to municipalities collecting an occupancy fee from operators of local room rentals. Mm-hmm. So let's say you're a homeowner, you'd like to be able to rent the room out or your house out on Airbnb, and then there's a state tax that you pay. This bill would add a second tax, a 2% fee to the municipality for the privilege of you renting out your house, your apartment, to a third party. It's just another money grab, I feel, for the state. And if you use Airbnb or HomeAway or any of the rental issues, you may want to come and talk to the legislature about this at 1:30 Tuesday, room 301.
Okay. And to piggyback on that, just real quickly, I was up at the Capitol today, and they were talking about the new proposed gas tax.
Right.
I don't know if it's 23 cents, but it's a large amount. And the Municipal Association was there promoting
So basically, they'll double it.
built
It's
up.
22 cents now.
So that's a huge increase, and that's another tax. They've been trying this every year with the BNB, Airbnb. Now that they're adding another gas tax, and what people must realize is that the people that are shipping things, they're going to be adding their shipping costs, which means your food prices will go up. There's there is a trickle down, and it will affect seniors on fixed budgets. There's that tax. There are a host of other taxes that are on the way.
The over-the-road truckers will also be affected by it.
Right. And, you know, I was listening to some of the testimony today, and one of the representatives from Nashua said, well, but the trucking associations or the truckers can deduct that. Well, that may be, but they are going to pass that down to the consumer.
That's right.
So when you up that, it will always go down to the consumer.
Yeah.
It's as though we're undoing. We said this in our last show. It's showing New Hampshire has a fickle personality, and they're going for the gusto. That's a huge increase. That's not a moderate increase. That's a radical increase.
It's a lot more than was proposed 2 years ago.
Right.
And then we really needed it. Now the economy is flourishing, and we are getting more income on that bill too. So I don't know why you have to increase it now, other than that's what they're saying across the board. You know, cut out the cuts that we had in the business tax, cut out the other things, so that the taxes are all going up. And what's that going to do to the economy?
I was just discussing that with Don, you know, when they were door knocking and getting these same-day registrations.
Right.
Don, do you think they were telling them that, hey, all these taxes are going to be going up?
I doubt very much they mentioned that at all. but anybody that knows the typical Democratic Party knows that it's all about taxes, increasing fees, more
Regulation.
more programs, more freebies. That's what Democrats are all about.
Let me make a comment about the gas tax, because there is a problem that's been getting worse over time. And that's kind of a good news problem with cars becoming more efficient. As cars get more efficient, they use less gas. That's terrific. But the bad news is that the way we're funding the roads is through a gas tax.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're getting to hybrid cars, electric cars, the money that you'd be paying a gas tax.
Where's it going? Yeah, I remember Carl talking about that a couple of years back. Well, what happens when we have when we're flourishing with all these electric cars?
Yeah.
Well, who's going to take care of the roads?
Yeah, they're talking now about a road use tax that is done when you inspect your car every year. They will keep track of the mileage, how many miles you've used on the road, and if you get over 50 miles a gallon, then you have to pay a fee up to a maximum of $111. A minimum, I think, was $33 or something like that.
So if you travel to Florida and back, or you travel out of state, you're still going to be paying for your local.
Yes.
But it brings up a very important point, which is, what's the fair way to pay for the roads? And right now it's done on this old model with cars getting lousy mileage and money flowing in. Now we've got the situation of efficiency cars and some cars with no electricity. Should a car that uses no gas, all electric, pay anything for the roads?
Well, yeah, they're using them.
Yeah. So I think that the road usage fee, and there's a bill that's coming up, I'll segue into another bill. This is on Wednesday at 10 a.m., Public Works and Highways, room 201, 203, establishing a road usage fee and making an appropriation therefore. Now, I had worked on this concept in the past legislation, and the idea was you want to have all the cars pay the same dollars. If you got a clunker, no road usage fee. You're paying gas tax. If you got a Tesla, you're going to pay $100 a year.
Has to be over 20 miles a gallon.
Absolutely. You got high, maybe even 20.
Anything under 20 pays nothing.
Absolutely right, Don. But to try to have cars that kind of average about 12,000 miles pay the same dollars to the state. So I think this bill has some merit. I haven't seen the details of the bill, but if anybody's got a thought on how they feel about the gas tax and road usage fees, Public Works and Highways.
Well, if you remember, Norm Major had that bill in last session,
Right.
and it got killed.
Yeah, it passed
Yeah.
the House.
Yeah,
and,
it passed the House,
yeah,
got killed in the Senate.
yeah.
I think it was too confusing the way that he figured out the
But it was
different.
basically the same thing.
Well, he had a number of different
He had a
categories.
formula that was a little bit
And
complicated.
then, the suggestion I made, I like the one about the number of miles when you do your safety check. You know how many miles you traveled,
Yeah.
and you get based on that. But in addition, we should be able to have the people who use the turnpikes and are paying a toll on that, have that subtracted from their total. And that should be one way, and then I think it's fair. Then I think it's fair. It's as fair as you're going
Yeah,
to
it's,
get.
it's something to think about.
And
See,
Yeah.
this is what I love about the Republican Party. Really, there's this discussion of ideas.
Yeah.
There's not
Absolutely.
just this
Yeah.
follow the leader
We're
mentality.
looking for solutions, Kevin.
Yeah.
We're not just carping about stuff. We want to solve
They
problems.
work the other
Well,
way
the
around. They
difference
have-
is we're all individuals and we can think for ourselves, and they're sort of dictated to.
Well,
That's
they-
the difference.
They look backwards. They find out what the solution is, and then they figure out how to explain
Well,
it.
they can't act until the party tells them what to do.
There was another bill that was discussed yesterday, and it had to do with the tax credit, which I think is a very, very important bill. This is something that, Bill, you were one of the authors of in 2010. I definitely supported that. I think we all did, actually, way back when. Allowing from the interest and dividends tax a certain amount of 85% to be delegated to an organization, a 501c3, to help kids that are in the 300 percentile poverty level to go to a private school. And this has worked out. I think it's helped about 800 kids since its inception, and it's under attack. They want to take that away. And what I don't understand is here's a program that is actually flourishing. Kids are learning at their own pace, at a way that is directed to their
Yeah,
needs.
yeah.
The public school can't do it all. So here's a program that was thinking outside the box to give these poor kids an opportunity that only the rich kids have. You want to talk about social justice? This is a program that helps them through a lottery system. There's no favorites. Nobody can be, there's no favorites in the program. You are chosen by a lottery, and to help you achieve or help these kids achieve. They want to get rid of that. They're saying, well, it's costing local municipalities money, when in actuality, it's costing a fraction of what it does to send the children to the public school, which is failing them. And I brought up in testimony the other day that when these kids find that they're not flourishing in a public school or in a school that does not meet their needs and they're trapped, when they start sinking low, when their self-esteem starts to die, when they feel as though they can't achieve and they're not matching up to the other kids, there is a dangerous path where they'll go. They're not fitting in. They're gonna check out. And we have an opioid crisis, right? This is one way to start maybe saving a few lives, right? And get them on the right track and point them in the right direction. But because it doesn't follow that mentality of, this is the only way, it is the Department of Bureaucracy, and you must obey. That doesn't work for the kids. Our education system is not for the system, it's for the kids. And
It should be for the kids.
And it's supposed to be for the kids. And if you can help these kids get out of a trapped system, why are the Democrats trying to take that away from them?
And it's so much hypocrisy in this. If you're a wealthy person,
Right.
you send your kids to St. Paul's, you send them to Phillips Exeter, you send them to a private school. But it's the families who can't afford.
You're on the tree streets here in Nashua.
Right.
Some of the
Our
kids
districts.
can't. Tree streets or up on Locke Street. Right. Some of those kids are benefiting from this program across the state. Their biggest problem is, well, some of them are going to religious schools. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Oops.
But the prime sponsor of this bill said, well, the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. Well, in the Constitution, it does talk about piety. Piety.
What's piety?
Well, look it up. It has to do with religion. It has to do with faith. It has to do with
well, that's why
integrity.
all the people came here to America, because they wanted the freedom of religion. But not only that, you're making the kids contributors and not takers.
Right.
they don't need support by the, you know, if you get them a good education, they get a good job, they contribute to the economy.
Right.
And so you're building up, you're getting a return for your money.
These charter schools are working fantastic, by
Right.
the way. We've got 2 in Nashua. Don, you're part of one of them,
I'm part of the Micro Society.
and that's flourishing.
That's flourishing. Right now, it's number 33 in the entire state. The Academy of Science and Design is number 4.
You can't
But
beat that with a
There is no Nashua school within the top 100. I looked at it today, and I found not one single Nashua school within the top 100.
And what is the Micro Society Charter School? What does that do? How does that design?
It's they teach a variety of things. For instance, they teach something that has been missing in the public school for a long time, which is they teach kids banking, budgeting, things like that that are missing from public schools now. They teach a variety of programs like that, civics,
So they can
American
become a good
history.
citizen.
And flourish.
Correct.
It's just what you're going to be if you're an adult. You're going to
Yes.
have to learn how to do the things that
Right.
run your life in a way.
And they are a
Absolutely
public
correct.
school.
And they are a
And they're
public
doing
school.
it for a fraction of the price of,
Right.
of the traditional public schools. And the traditional public
And-
schools still get money from the children that are living in district.
Yes, yes, and they also. No, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'll think of it. Go ahead.
But I think the important point is that these programs put more money into education.
Right.
So you've already got the property tax and the state aid, and now by using these scholarship programs, it adds additional money into that pot.
Yeah.
And it's focused on something that's very valuable. A good
But another
education.
misconception, I've got my thought back. Another misconception with the lottery. You'll hear teachers' unions, for instance, say that they pick and choose from that lottery. That's not true. The charter schools have disabled programs. They have programs for minorities. They have programs for the underprivileged. It's the same as the public school. Anyone can go there. It's just that they're chosen by a lottery, random lottery, so that no one can place themselves above anyone else. It's all random, and they educate everyone.
That was part of the narrative yesterday, though, Don, is that they were, the proponents were saying, well, this whole program basically treats children with disabilities different, and it discourages them. It doesn't meet their needs.
That's very untrue.
Children with disabilities, and so there's a lot of misconceptions out there and outright false lies, because it's a program that's working and they're wanting to tear it down. It's before Ways and Means. That's where it originated years ago,
Yep.
and it looks like it's it's outnumbered. I think this is a program that if you want to save the kids, if you want to give them hope, why are you taking this little light away?
And to show you in the paper just a few days ago, both of the schools that we've mentioned, the charter schools, have national awards.
Yeah.
They had four of them for the academy, and the other one had 2, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything where not only Nashua, but the state schools had anything
Yeah.
like that. And what do we hear in today's paper? That the Nashua schools are asking for a 3% increase
For
in their
what?
budget. That's
And
the
where's that?
first one.
And where's that money going to go, Carl?
Yeah.
Transparency and accountability was also brought up again in this whole program, whether or not it's compliant or whatever. They're producing a good quality education. But I have this question to ask. Since the 1970s, with all those homeschoolers that were not utilizing the public schools, the transportation, any of the programs, where is that money? Where did that money? That's thousands. It costs $13,000 to $17,000 per student per year in the public school. That money has not been given to those families that educated those kids, and we've heard many success stories of homeschoolers.
Yeah.
They win spelling bees, national spelling bees.
The reason I asked the question about where's the money going is because my read of the proposed increase in the Nashua school budget is not for the kids, it's for more administration.
That's correct.
And that's the national problem.
Yeah.
They're seeing that trend. And that doesn't go to the teachers, it goes to the administration.
Goes to administration.
Right. And then you find teachers that are going to Staples to buy products because, they don't have enough supplies. Well, maybe
Yeah,
if
but
you-
hold it.
That's what I'm hearing.
I got to stop you there. That is true. They do go to Staples and buy their own products, but don't let any teacher tell you that they do not turn in the receipts and get reimbursed for that.
Well, they didn't tell me that.
They do.
But
I
the
know
admin-
that for a fact.
But if we cut our administration down a little bit, the Department of Bureaucracy, that's where the cuts have to be. You're over-administrating this whole thing, and you're overcomplicating something that used to work very well.
If you don't have to count the staple receipts, maybe you don't need all that administration.
Well, I think it's really top-heavy, and that's where the burden lies. And once you get those jobs fixated into the system, it's hard to get rid of them. And the taxpayers are constantly asking more to shell out. So this is a solution that if you get rid of this tax credit program, if you get rid of the charter schools, you're going to increase the cost of education exponentially.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about a solution again. Kind of the question is, who should have the choice of where the kids go to school? Should that be the choice of the state? Should it be the choice of the parents?
The choice of the parent.
So wouldn't the right solution then be say, look, let's give parents full choice on where their kids should go to school?
The money should follow the child.
Right.
The problem is the education unions, of which there is more than one. There's actually, I think, 3 or 4. The unions do not want that parent's choice. They want to dictate that your kid goes to public school, period.
Well, charter schools are public schools.
They are
But we
public
talked
schools,
about
yes.
the lottery in public schools and charter schools. Why is there a lottery? It's because there's more demand
Right.
than they can supply, so they can't say we can't take everybody.
That's right. They
so
can
many
only take
people that wanna-
unlimited.
So we have to do a lottery. But if we had more charter schools, more people could get into the charter schools, which is what the parents want.
It is a national movement. I went down to an NCSL thing, and they were, this is one of the areas that people are really focusing on because we've just declined over the years in our education nationwide. And so this is why there's this up flourishing of charter schools and private schools. That is the solution, but there's this resistance. There's always a resistance to change.
Right. So you need a disruptor, like Uber's the disruptor of
Uber,
transportation.
Yeah.
And we have more disruptors coming. We have autonomous cars that are getting pretty close to being utilized in higher ways for like local taxis in urban areas. And the taxi cab industry hates the Uber because
competition.
And in schools and education, we're talking about disrupting by having more school choice. So the parties that are invested in the current approach are going to be unhappy. So you just have to say, well, what's the problem we're trying to solve? We're trying to solve problems by maintaining school bureaucracy. There's going to be some layoffs. Or is the problem we're trying to solve is getting the best education for the kids and giving the parents choice?
And that has to be the solution right there.
One of the biggest problems is when a child goes from the public school to a charter school. Why doesn't that money follow that child?
Yeah, the whole
Excellent
money
point,
doesn't
Don.
find.
It's greed.
Right.
It's because the public school system wants to keep that money. They're teaching less kids, but they're getting more money.
And Berlin should shut down a school.
Oh, yeah.
The kids that are, like you said, we're not producing as many kids in these. In for some reason, the taxes are going up, and
Well, I think I hope that locally that we go through this budget because people have to rise up and say, hey, no. I mean, last time the mayor was able to cut the 3% down to 2 something. But still, and the mayor's got the same problem this year, that he wants to keep it a 2 point something. And now they come in and they have to have this. This is it's a demand. It's not an ask, but people,
Who has to have this? The administration has to have this?
well, they
The
said
taxpayers have to have
I think
this?
the
Who has to have
administration
this?
said they have to have it because they got to compete with the charter schools.
No, I don't even think they think about that, because they have a better performance.
I heard that somewhere.
Well, take the money away from them. That's the only way they're going to do it.
A couple of things to put on people's radar, just for the near future. We passed SB3 last. Senator Birdsell passed a bill with the voter registration.
Election law reform.
There are two bills that are coming on. My counterpart, the one who unseated me, put in a bill, SB 67, which basically undoes that voter registration bill that's under, so that we can make sure that the votes are local, that you're not an alien, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a bill to undo that, and that's SB 67. The chairperson of that bill is Melanie Levesque, and it's her bill, and she's trying to undo that. So, and it is an election law. So we're going to have Senator Birdsell on the other good show. It's called Speaking with the Senator. I'm the host.
Okay.
Tune in. But she's going to discuss that particular bill. And SB 7, which is another bill, which has a huge fiscal note. It starts off with $2.7 million, another for the first year, and 1.3 the next, 1.8 the next, and 1.8 the next. And it has to do with this.
Beginning in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has to, it's called SMART Act, and it has, again, something to do with registration. It doesn't mean you have to be a New Hampshire citizen, but it has something to do
You
with
get your registration even though you're not a citizen.
we're not sure. I have to look at the details,
Okay.
but I just want to put it on the
But
radar.
it's something that we ought to look at.
Right.
Good.
And
But
one of
there
the-
are so many of those bills that are up there that they're canceling some of the good stuff that has been done in the last couple of years.
It's very apparent this particular legislature, everything they're doing is geared toward undoing what was done the 2 previous years instead of improving on what was done the last 2 years.
And look what the economy's doing.
Yeah.
Right? So that's going to go into a decline. And if I can just do one other little bug, I will personally be live streaming some of these committees and some of these hearings, and it'll be on that. And if I can funnel some to the people's view, that'll be great as well. I think it's important. You started off the show to talk about the process. When people see what's going on in the hearings or in the hall and in the Senate chambers, that's one part of it. But when you actually see the debates that are going on in a committee hearing, unedited, without Channel 9 or Fox or anybody, putting in their 2 cents, you can make up your own mind as to what you hear. And so we're going to try to live stream that as much as possible. And if the public could just get involved a little bit by watching it, or if you can't be
So
there.
it'll be on the public access TV, Channel 96.
Yep.
And it'll be coming on routinely, or is it under your name or my name or what's name?
We can put it anywhere you want.
No, I
Yeah,
know.
it'll be with Speaking with the Senator as much as I can.
Okay.
But we're just going to try to live stream it and pan in, pan out, and that's about all I'm going to be doing.
Give the public a little bit more of a awareness of how it goes on,
Right.
and what some of the people are saying.
I tried to do a little of that today with the gas tax. There's like a little 7-minute blurb, so I actually caught my face in it too. So pardon me. But we'll get all the bugs worked out so that people can be informed, because I think an informed public is the
I
best thing
think
you
that's
can
what they need to be. They
Yeah.
need to know what's happening now and why they are voting or shouldn't vote for certain people.
do. Right.
I think on the broader topic, taxes are not the state's money, they're the people's money.
Right.
This is your money. And
Well, it goes back to the question, who is the government? We are the government.
Yeah.
Right. So come to the people's house and explain why your money should be spent this way or not, because the representatives and senators are elected by you to listen to your wishes and be responsible people. And if they stray, you need to talk to them.
When I was chair of Fish and Game, somebody was floating the idea of a tax for the boats. Kayak boats.
Kayaks.
Yeah.
Anything that moves, even underwater.
A rumor has it there's another one. I don't know if you've seen it on your radar yet, but
I haven't seen that one,
the
but I
taxes
heard
on the
that there's
boats.
going to be another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One that
Resource.
really bothers me this year is all the work, and I received all sorts of accolades for what I did with Medicaid
Yeah.
expansion. And to see a bill come in that is going to take the work requirement out of Medicaid expansion, you know, I don't care who it is, whether it's Democrat, Republican, Independent, who it is. When you earn something, you appreciate it a lot more than if it's just given to you.
Right.
That's just common sense and human nature. And for them to want to take that 100-hour a month requirement out of Medicaid expansion, that is just an egregious act of hatred.
Yeah. And, you know, you're going to get people involved in there supporting the work, because some of the work that they can do to meet the requirement is working for some charity or something. It's not some
Public
you know,
service.
digging ditches or something like that.
Yeah, there's actually a bill in Washington this year that wants to give a reasonable living to anyone willing to work or unwilling to work or disabled. They want to give them a living wage.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
And that's
Willing to work,
everybody.
unwilling to work, that's everybody.
Willing to work, unwilling to work, and disabled.
It's socialism, and look at what it did to Venezuela
Yeah, absolutely. Why are they all coming here?
in a short
Yeah,
period
that's
of time.
right.
Yeah.
In a very short period of time, it destroyed that country.
Take the money from the people and give a fraction of it back. Why not just stop taking the money?
Well, yesterday's headline, I really laughed at. This guy Yang wants to give $1,000 a month to every man, woman, and child in America.
Uh-huh.
For the purpose of
Living. They live
To live off of.
buying cigarettes and
Yeah,
beer.
cigarettes.
But you know, the other thing is that they don't see the value of competition. People, as you said before, with ideas, competing ideas, so that you see what works best, and you keep tweaking it and try to look better. But why do people work on that? Because they see the reward of something working better, and maybe they get to earn money better too. People ought to understand that if you're going to be in the workforce, you're going to be competition. You can't have one thing, one company, one USA company running all the economy.
Don, you and I were both on Health and Human Services,
Right.
and there are some people that were severely disabled that would come into the hearings, and they work with the Independent Living Foundation. They want to work.
Absolutely, they
have
want to
every
work.
excuse not to work. They want to work. There's dignity in doing it.
Absolutely.
And they want to get out there, and that is where we try to help.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by when you earn something, you appreciate it. And that's what they want to do. They want to go out and earn their living.
There is dignity in that.
Absolutely.
It's even a biblical saying that it's a gift from God.
But what they don't understand, if you're going to give people something, where does the money come from for you to give that? They don't understand that part. They think that money just floats from the air somewhere, and you just give it to everybody, and everybody's happy in La La Land.
Well, that's how you buy votes. You take from this person who's earning, and you give it to somebody who chooses not to.
But they don't talk about having to take it from the person who's earning it to give it away. They don't talk about that.
That's what they're doing. I think the congresswoman who wants to tax, wants to basically outlaw being rich in America.
A little bit of stats.
Well, she's
you know.
dumber than a rock.
I'm
I
not
mean,
gonna
come
say-
on, let's face it.
I'm not going to say that.
It'll be apparent, but in terms of stats, I think I saw something in the paper today in the Wall Street Journal that the top 1% they'd like to talk about pay 37% of all the federal taxes. And the lower half, the lower 50% pays 3%
3%,
of all the federal
right.
taxes. So it's so top heavy. I mean, if you want to design a perfect system, you'd say, well, let's everybody pay the same dollar amount. And no, that's not fair because some people are well off. And they say, well, let people pay a percentage of their pay. Everybody pays 5%. Well,
A flat
people
tax.
Yeah, flat tax. Well, the people who are at the bottom, you know, that 5% makes a lot more than the person at the high end. So instead of making 5% for the top, let's make it 10%, 20%, 50%, 70%, 90%. It never ends.
But I want that guy at the top to make more money than he's making now. I want him to continue to make
Because
money
he's gonna
because
throw-
he is the employer.
Right, he is building jobs.
That's right.
There's no employer that
Or
has
she.
no money.
That's correct.
You have to have money to
Yeah.
and
Put
and
your
the
capital at
idea is
risk.
to grow the economy and make it so that everybody can pursue their own happiness.
Yeah.
That's the idea, to get the government out of the way,
Yeah.
make sure that nobody's being hurt, obviously, or
Yeah, we have to take care of the
And a
needy.
large percentage of those people have foundations or some kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
philanthropy.
Yeah, oh, sure.
That they give out.
Huge,
out money,
huge foundations.
money. We see that,
Yeah.
but you figure, you complain about a few guys who might go around buying a yacht or something like that.
like John Kerry.
But don't register to NAS.
Oh, who's the other guy out in Washington? The global warming guy. Al Gore. That's right. He's got
Yeah.
Alcohol.
he's got a beautiful jet, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got
Whatever.
got a jet, got that big home that's got a footprint almost the size of Tennessee.
Do what I say, not what I do. You know, it's,
One other thing I'd like to bring up before we finish is the mantra that's going around: Medicare for all. Medicare is like the idol of everybody. Medicare doesn't work that well, and it has a high level of fraud in it. And you don't hear, 60 Minutes did something about 3 years ago about Florida and how they were paying off false companies
Yeah.
for services because they just get billed and they process
Companies
it,
that exist by name only.
and Medicare is willing to take fraud up to several percentage points.
Right. We in New Hampshire, there's a ton of it, and I've interviewed a couple of one lady who actually was in the system for 35 years, and she wrote a book on it, and she just gave some examples, but you never hear about it in the media.
No.
Never. But it's not hundreds of thousands; it's millions of
It's
dollars.
millions.
And well, how do we stop that hemorrhaging?
Yeah.
Make
There's
more of it? Oh, volume. That's how we'll get rid of it.
They estimate Medicare for all would cost $2 trillion.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
That's with a T. We're used to the B,
yeah.
but this is with a T.
but what that really means, though, is what Carl said. That's socialized medicine.
That's right.
The government decides who you can see, how much
When
you're
you
going to
can
pay,
see it.
when you can see them, if you can see them, and if you've got a problem that requires a specialist, well, take a number.
You know,
I don't
this
see people flocking to England and Canada.
This whole
coming
system
here.
started years ago with the third-party system, third-party payer. It used to be when medicine wasn't this expensive.
Yeah.
And how do we get back there? How do we get back there?
Right.
Free enterprise.
Right.
Let a doctor practice on their own without, hey, look, I'll charge you this.
Let
and-
the insurance companies work cross state lines.
Yes,
Have
We tried that.
competition.
Definitely.
Have different options there. I mean, you want a policy that fits your needs.
You can do that with Geico. You can do it with any other
Right.
insurances. Why can't
Car
you do
insurance works that way.
it? Right.
Yeah.
Geico.
Liberty Mutual
You
has
could
a
save 15%.
commercial on that.
Hey, does that qualify for a commercial? So, but yeah, we tried that, and I think that Senator Sanborn actually put in a bill, and I co-sponsored that.
Right.
And
It was Sanborn.
yeah, and it's a tough battle because people don't want a solution; they want more money. After a while, you run out.
Yeah.
And you don't get the coverage you want, and you let it get out of control. We saw that with the VA. It just got out of control because there was no competition amongst the different entities under that.
Well,
But
Don had
again-
some experience with the VA.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have experience with the VA. It's a good training hospital.
Oh, yeah?
And I've had doctors at the VA tell me that. There are a few doctors in the VA, but a lot of them have told me this is a great place for someone to come and get experience before they go out on their own.
I see.
So that's what you're dealing with at the VA.
I hear there's going to be a rally. I think it's the 13th up there, because there's some gun bills that are going on.
It is the 13th.
It is the 13th,
Yes.
and there'll be a rally to protect your Second
It's in
Amendment
the
rights.
LOB lobby.
LOB, which is not the Capitol building, it's the one
It's the
behind it.
legislative office building behind the Capitol.
Yeah, and that's an important one if you want to protect your Second Amendment rights. They're always under assault. You don't hear a whole lot of gun violence in New Hampshire,
No.
and we have concealed carry. But
Yeah.
where you don't have that, you hear a lot of violence. So disarming the citizens only arms the criminals. So there seems to be an attempt to do that, and if it's piecemeal or whatever. So yeah, if you can come up to the Capitol on the 13th.
I guess what we're saying is we got a really complex listing of bills up there, and we ought to watch. We got to look carefully at what is being proposed.
There are thousands of bills. I think they outdid us last time, just with more bills to undo everything, to complicate everything. I have talked to a number of lobbyists. They're scratching their head, and it's out of control. This radical part of the Democratic Party is really taking over, and they don't know when to stop. There's never enough. So I won't throw.
We'll try to keep up with this.
Yeah.
We'll look at it. We'll keep on doing this at least during the months that the legislatures in session, and hopefully people out there get active. Look at what you don't like and make sure your voice is heard. Write letters to the newspaper. That helps a bit, but your presence up there, showing that some of these things are ridiculous and shouldn't be even considered, and not even get out of committee, let alone get voted in. And hopefully our governor will be a final saver on some of these bills by vetoing some.
Yeah,
I'm sure he will
and
be.
I think, giving the governor credit, let's hope that he can. You know, it's going to be hard, but there's going to have to be a ton of vetoes up there.
Yeah.
And I think that the Senate will support him, but he's going to need encouragement because there's going to be a lot of pushback. There's a lot of money that's been funneled into New Hampshire to undo everything, including your voting rights.
$600,000 is the number I heard.
Yeah,
Something like that.
That helped out with some people, and I'm not going to name names.
No, you don't have to name names.
I think we ought to encourage our
I'm
young
the
people
name.
too to get more active in the legislative effort. We need people who are the legislators of the future getting involved, knowing what happens up there and what's going to affect their future. I mean, right now, none of us here are under 50.
We've got to change that attitude of repealing everything the previous administration did, instead of looking forward and making what we have better.
Right.
And it's how we do legislation.
That's the way you do legislation. That's right.
If the folks would see that the narratives that you see on TV, that is such a misrepresentation of what goes on. There are many hours and hours and hours, whether in committee and even after committee, when the legislators are talking in the hall, look, I can move this or I can do this. Let's change this language. Would you agree to do this? How about this? All that goes on, and then there's no money being exchanged because we're just trying to do something for the people. And there's a long process, and there's a lot of passion, sometimes behind one word. Shall.
Yeah, shall or may,
Yeah.
could or would.
Could or would, shall, or... But
a legislator is just like, it's no different than going to school. A legislator goes to school during the day, he goes to his committee, does his committee work, goes home at night and does his homework. You have to study the bill for things just like you just mentioned, whether may fits in a bill, or shall fits in it, or would, or could, or did or didn't, or whatever.
And then listen to your constituents, the letters, and of course the people that are pushing an agenda, and you have to sift through all of that, and then of course then the lobbyists. So I'm not trying to get you to feel sorry for the legislators, but the people that are out there trying to do a good job are really barraged with a whole host of different decisions to make, you know.
And the legislators' address and phone numbers are all on the websites up there at the government, so you can call them directly. And we used to get calls on, we'd listen to our constituents. It's the only way we get some feedback.
I think one of the nicest things that could happen for the state, that would be one of the most useful things for the citizens, is if institutions like this one right here, Access Nashua, or Bedford, or Merrimack, or Hudson, could all get unified to be able to get some live streaming up at the Capitol.
Right.
That would be an amazing help to the citizens. We do that in the mayor's office. Well, not the alderman.
Alderman, yeah.
You see what's going on in the hearings. That would be a
Yeah,
wonderful
that's
tool.
live streamed. Every meeting is live streamed.
Right? So if you could get every committee hearing done, I mean, That's a fraction of one bill that's probably being proposed up there. But that would really help the people. So just throwing that out there. How'd I do, Dick?
Okay. This is, we've been going through a lot today, and we're going to be doing it every week. So look at the People's View and look at your show.
Speaking with the senator.
Speaking with the Senator.
Let me
So,
just close
go
with the website. This is the website of the House of Representatives in the New Hampshire legislature, gencourt.state.newhampshire.us.
All you have to punch in is New Hampshire General Court, and that will come up. It's that simple.
Covers House, covers Senate.
There's lots of information that you can find in there, what you want, and give us a call. You look at our phone numbers that are on there too.
Yeah, Carl answers all the time.
Anyway, we try
For
to
all of us.
organize and find out the things that will be most interest to you, but there's a lot of things that other things that we don't get to. So look at it and react. Be an active part of government. Thank you.